Hi Team Value, JJ here, welcome back. Well, today we're going to have a look at a clip with Ross Gerber, fund manager Ross Gerber, and Gene Munster talking about Tesla. They're both bullish on Tesla, although Ross Gerber's been flip-flopping a little bit. It's hard to tell if he's been bullish or not. He's been pretty critical of Tesla, and he doesn't have a lot of shares. I don't think his fund has that many shares these days, but he does get a lot of publicity, and I guess I'm adding to that kind of media coverage, although not mainstream. So let's see what they've got to say.
Ross, you've come out previously and we've talked a little bit about your frustration about the board of directors not maintaining more control over the company and having more oversight. We've talked a little bit about the options available in other EVs. What do you think is behind this surge behind Tesla's share price?
Well, there's two things. First, I want to address the idea that Tesla's going to sell a lot more cars over the next 2 years without using levers like advertising and not having any really new vehicles or a refreshed Model Y. So I would push back and first say all the analysts have been wrong with Tesla's numbers over the last 3 years, and they've been substantially lower than what analysts and even what Tesla expected. And I just don't see why.
Yeah, the deliveries have been pretty low. Even the ones that just came out last week, was it, or the week before, they were better than expectations, but expectations were pretty low. They were still 5% down year on year. So how are they going to get those deliveries up over the next year or so? Most of it is a story based on the robotaxi, this launch on the 8th of the age, which isn't far away now. We'll have to see what happens there. But I think he's right about the deliveries there, possibly how they're going to increase deliveries. The economy has to get better. Interest rates come down. What is it?
Why sales would accelerate greatly with the current strategy. Now, irrelevant of that, I think the surge, a lot of that has to do is, I think the worst case scenario where Elon Musk would leave the company because his pay package wasn't approved, that kind of got taken off the table. So that was like a positive thing. The delivery.
That was a big thing hanging over, seems to be hanging over the company itself, whether Elon would leave or not. And the stock price did kind of rocket after that, not immediately, but it did start to take off after that.
Numbers were obviously down year over year, so celebrating that, I'm still sort of like, okay, it wasn't as bad as expected, but at the same respect, they were giving away cars for a whole month with ridiculously low financing deals where Tesla lost money on those cars. So what I think the real thing is a lot of people are short Tesla and they just get caught, and I don't understand why short sellers are so stupid. You just don't short Tesla.
I think that's why they have him on these media programs, because he does have some good lines like that. I mean, about Tesla, it reminds me of what Charlie Munger said about Tesla, that he wouldn't own the stock, but he wouldn't short it either. And a lot of short sellers have been burned over the years, from Jim Chanos to Michael Burry, thinking it's going to crash. And it did. It came down from 400, well over 400 to more than half that. So, but it's hard to time these things. It's like Nvidia at the moment. I've seen people shorting that, and it's really hard to time. Warren Buffett has said about short selling that it's really dangerous to do. You can lose huge amounts of money, and the timings. And if you get the timing wrong, so why not just find stocks that are wonderful companies and stay long? And Ross Gerber he definitely sold Tesla shares, so he didn't like the whole board situation and what was happening there. So he's kind of been in and out of the stock, whereas I've done a previous video about Ross Gerber, and I'll put that in the description. I'll put a link to that in the description, where he said never sell Nvidia. He was talking about Nvidia, and he said no, you never sell Nvidia, but he doesn't seem to have that same stance with Tesla, although he says he's bullish long term.
How many times have they lost? I mean, just because I'm unhappy with Tesla and I might sell a little bit of my stock has nothing to do with going short one of the most innovative, important companies of our time. So I just want Tesla to get its act together, but by far, there's so much more that Tesla can do in the future if they really just focus. So it's hard not to be a bull long-term on Tesla, even though at the current moment, it's a little bit confusing.
Okay.
Ross, you've come out.
Okay, so there's another clip. These are clips taken from X, by the way. I'll just try and get rid of this. Hold on one second. So here we go. These clips are on X, by the way. And if you want to follow me on there, it's the Art of Value on there. I do have a profile on there daily, and I do find things like this on there. So it's worth having, I think, to see what's going on there. And we'll try this next clip, see if we can get this going. The X videos sometimes are a little bit dodgy, but we'll see how we go.
And by the way, the Cybertruck's not a dud. I drive it, and I'm telling you, every kid in this neighborhood is dying to get in this car. So it's a pretty popular vehicle.
And it's out for me. I don't need no more kids in the car.
Oh, I'm more popular.
So he's definitely he's got a Cybertruck, so he's definitely bullish. And I mean, there are very few people really with Cybertrucks at this point. So he was pretty early on there.
Disneyland or Legoland right now. So. But that said, it's a hard vehicle to produce. I've already dented mine, and there's only one place in California to get it fixed.
Wow.
It's like...
That's early days. One place in the whole of California, which is as big as, what is it, the 8th biggest economy in the world or something like that?
The vehicle wasn't really complete when they did it, but a lot of the buyers are people who would otherwise buy a Model S or X. They're Tesla owners who are buying the Cybertruck. It's not new people who haven't bought Teslas before. And that's, I think, the failure of the Cybertruck is not expanding the market for Tesla customers.
I think that's a good point there, that they really are, they're not new buyers. It's not a mainstream thing yet. Maybe numbers will ramp up if it's popular. They're hoping it'll be popular, but is it more of a niche product? Is it going to be one of those iconic things that we look back on, like the DeLorean, although that was a failure and really made famous sort of by the Back to the Future movies, really. Will it be like that, or will it become this mainstream thing where they sell a lot of them? Should they have gone for this $25,000 model like BYD is, if they've done the wrong move there? Ross Gerber does seem to think so in that regard. Okay, we've got one more clip here, and we'll see if we can get this going, where Gene Munster is talking, I believe, about what he thinks to have his turn, not just Ross Gerber talking all the time.
What do you think is behind this surge in the stocks?
Well, I think that there's two pieces. The first is what we saw with the delivery numbers. They were down 5% for the June quarter. That's an improvement from down 9%. But I think investors are...
Yeah, that's right. They were down 9% and then 5%. So, is that... I don't know if that was responsible for the stock going up. Maybe there's optimism based on that, but they're still down 5% year on year, which is not the growth company that people were talking about, 50% a year compounding just a few years ago. It's pretty much no growth.
They're starting to fill in the blanks. The deliveries will be up 8% in September, another 8% in December, double digits in calendar 25, and probably 20% in calendar 26. So I think the first piece to this rally is related to just investors understanding that we're going to see accelerating growth rates. And then you layer on this opportunity.
Well, that remains to be seen. Accelerating growth rates. We'll see about that. I mean, the economy, the US economy seems to be slowing down, and China's got a lot of competition in China. We'll have to see. I mean, that remains to be seen, but that's his position anyway.
That Elon's been talking a lot about with AI, and you outlined some of those. There's another piece that was not mentioned, which is just the fleet opportunity in AI. But you start piecing together, investors can understand that the profitability profile of this company can be much more attractive in the next few years as they roll that out.
But Gene, if you're looking at Tesla's market share here, what we're seeing April through June is that the market share dropped below 50% for the first time. There you're seeing the market share standing at 49.7%, according to Cox Automotive.
Okay, so if you're just listening to this on screen here, we've got Tesla's US EV market share. So it's just US, mind you. I mean, it's a big market, but it's not globally. So April to June, 49.7% in 2024, under that 50%, as you said. And last year, 2023, it was just under 60%. So they are losing market share to other players. The competition is there, although that's a big market share. In China, the competition is getting pretty intense. And there are other places in the world where Tesla's doing well. I mean, they said they've got the most popular model in the world. Tesla bulls often say that, but they don't break that down. If you look at the models, if you actually look at the models, that they don't actually tell you the numbers there. So it's we're taking their word for that, really.
Where last year it had almost 60% market share in the same time frame, what gives?
Well, the market share, in my opinion, is less important. What's important is the growth rates. And ultimately, their market share started at close to 90, 100%. And the expectation over time was it was going to drift lower. The highest traditional car company has about a 15% market share in the US. I think ultimately Tesla can have a 20, 25% market share. So I've expected that number to be drifting down, and I'm more focused on what the growth rates are. And as I mentioned, they should be accelerating in the months and quarters and years to come.
All right, so he's expecting that market share to be pretty strong. There's a pretty strong market share if they can maintain that in the US, but I don't know why they're just talking about the US market. It is a big market, but it's not the be-all and end-all as far as in world terms. There are other markets, and China is an important market. I think it's about going to be about a third of the world market for autos I saw the other day. So that's really substantial. They can't just think about the US market, although it is important. And, you know, as Ross Gerber said, there's only one place you can get Cybertrucks fixed and even in California, one of the biggest markets. So they've got a long way to go there to ramp that up and to make that really hum along, so to speak. Anyway, what do you think about that? Do you think that what's the reason for Tesla's ramp up? They didn't even mention robotaxis there. I think that's got a lot to do with how it's ramped up. There's a lot of future being priced in at the moment with robotaxi, the 8th of the 8th announcement and maybe product announcement. We just don't know. We don't know yet. So, and there's zero revenue, let alone profits coming from robotaxis right now. So we really don't know much about that yet. So it's going to be fascinating to see what they have. And so let me know what you think in the comments about that. And if on screen, I'm going to put, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put a video that YouTube thinks that you should watch next. So go and do that now if you want to. And also a subscribe button if you want to subscribe and follow along here. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.